This film is presented in its original uncut version. It is rated TV MA-LSV. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Okay. Hello everybody. So ideally this is going to be a video I wanted to make for a couple years now. I apologize if it's getting bright or dark in the background. I have the window open to give natural light. I might have a little bit of music in the background, super low, and I want to try to add some pictures as best as I can. But ideally, the topic, as you may see in the title, is not clickbait. I want to talk about my experience with religion, specifically Christianity and the denomination of baptism. I think it's very important to not only be transparent in my story, but be very specific in the way I'm telling it. Ideally, when I first started this, I wanted to only do religion, my experience with religion and why I left it. But I feel that that is a disservice to the problem that I want to address, and it's a disservice to every other religion, like Muslims or Buddhist, or even things like the Quran, reincarnation, Confucianism. I feel like it's a disservice and disrespectful to denounce those religions, let alone speak on them when I've never experienced them. So specifically, the title is going to say probably, why I left Christianity, or my Christianity story, why I want to make it transparent, but it's not as much clickbaity, but I want to tell my story. So with that, guys, if you are watching this, I am a lifter, I'm a father and a husband, and so I'm wanting to kind of change the channel that I have, which is lifting. And I know you're clicking on this, watching this video, because you are questioning your religion, and or you're curious because you've seen my socials. But at the end of the day, I'm just a human. I'm a father, I'm a husband, like I said, I'm a lifter. And with my channel, I want to do more and be more and say more. So this is the first step, I feel like, and this is something that's super important to me because it's actually shaped my life a lot. It's taken a lot from me, and it's gave me a lot as well. So instead of being vague, so with all that being said, all the vagueness and very poetic soliloquies, so to say, I'm gonna go ahead and just jump into it, guys. So my name is Quentin Postel. I'm a powerlifter. I'm a newfound father of 5 months, and I am a husband of 2 years with my wife of 8 years. And so I'm born and raised in the state of Georgia, and this is kind of where I've preoccupied my whole life. In terms of kind of like my career, I'm just going to college right now, and I have a job part-time, and I do social media, so my wife works as well, so that's kind of like the things that I do. The only thing really special about me is that I'm a husband to a beautiful woman, amazing woman. I'm a father to a beautiful, gorgeous daughter, and I'm an okay lifter. I'm like top 10, right? So for people who don't lift, it doesn't matter. But that's ideally where I put a lot of my eggs in the basket. So in terms of religion, like I'm 25, I grew up in the South. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's called the Bible Belt. I think it includes like Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, maybe Texas, Kentucky, probably 2 other states, Florida, maybe 1 other state. I'm not too sure about Florida. But the Bible Belt is basically it's like Dollar General, Waffle House, or McDonald's. You're going to see a church almost every other corner. That's very, very inspiring and deterring the way you look at it. And so for me, it's deterring. But ideally, I was born and raised in the church. I went to Abba's house in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with my mother for, I want to say, probably till I was like 10 or 11. Growing up with religion, I really didn't understand it, but my mom forced it on me. And I say force very liberally because it's indoctrination. And indoctrination, for anyone who doesn't know, is the process of basically forcing, subscribing, or mandating any religious or moral belief system to an individual without their consent or knowledge. And I think it's dangerous. I think it's very dangerous, no matter how you look at it. Because now that I look back on it, I wish that I wasn't religious. Wish that I didn't have the life that I had at the time when I was religious, and I deal with a lot of scars and trauma from it. In terms of the relationship that I have with my mother over it, I don't blame her because when you are in a religion or any moral belief system, group, community, club, you think it's what's best for you and others, and so of course you want to promote it. But I feel the idiom in it is that you know you don't know what's wrong when you think it's right, and that's where I kind of give my mother grace, is because she wanted what's right for me, but she didn't know that religion would do more harm than good. Do I think if she knew now, would she have subscribed to that and indoctrinated me? I don't think so. So that's where I kind of found a middle ground with it. But she wanted what was best for us as kids. Now, I'm born in 1998, and so I think that there is a paradigm shift in religion now compared to what it was. Compared to what it was almost 2 or 3 decades ago. Now, I have ADHD, so there may be a little bit up in the air, but I'm just telling my story. I have no notes. So, I hope you ride along with me. And I apologize if it seems like I'm going everywhere. So, back to my mother and religion. I had a very rocky relationship with my mother growing up. My father used to beat on her and beat the fuck out of her, like simply beat the shit out of her. I remember one day he just decked her right in her fucking jaw. And I remember seeing that, or like one day I was crying. I don't remember what I was crying over, but I was crying and I came downstairs and I was like being a brat, yelling at my mom, like crying at her. And my dad just like picks me up and like slams me against the fucking wall, and he's like, you're a fucking man, men don't fucking cry. Why are you crying like a bitch, And that doesn't really upset me because I know my quality and characteristics as a man. But seeing him do that and knowing that I have a child now, like I understand frustration and the mundanes of life and stressors, and so I levy him that. But the assault aspect of it and the words that he chose to spew, I deal with it. I juggle it a lot because when you look at a lion, right, and you see that they either eat a cub, or that they kill a cub, or that, they kill a gazelle for the cub. They're only doing what they know instinctually, right? I like to think of knowledge and intellect like Newton's third law of energy, if I'm quoting it correct. Energy cannot be destroyed, nor created, only transferred. And so if no one ever gave my father that grace, then how could he give it to me? If no one was ever patient with my father, how can he give it to me? Hurt people. And so I feel ideally a lot of what he did to me was because that's not only what he knew better, but he was a broken man, and he probably had a broken father, my grandfather. So, in terms of marital status, I am a bastard child. Me and my sisters, I have 7 of them. None of them were married to. None of the men that were married to my mother, at the time had birth to us, and my mother married one man, but he had no kid. So I have one ideal stepfather. So, with the relationship being so rocky, she ended up being a single mother, taking care of me and my 3 sisters at the time. And so we still went to church. We still prayed and all that. I started believing in Baptist Christian God, Jesus Christ, and taking full acknowledgement. Maybe when I was in close to middle school. I feel that I've always been an inquisitive child. I've always questioned people. I've always been a skeptic, and I'm still trying to work on it to this day. There's a difference between questioning things and just being an asshole. And social media has kind of amplified that because it's just things that you see. It's very polarizing. But I still remember the first time I ever, and it sounds super cringy or super crazy to someone just to casually say this, but I remember I think the first time I gained consciousness was like when I don't remember my age, but I was in a crib, and it was when they had the tall ones. And I remember the TV was on, and I was laying there crying, and I stopped crying, and I was thinking to myself, like, is this it? Is this all life is? Now, me saying that makes no fucking sense because, like, I remember having that thought. I remember that. It's not a dream because I remember being so torn up. I think I was stealing stuff when I was younger. I had stole like a candy bar, and my mom like whooped my ass. And my dad at the time was like, "Don't go cater to him. Let him cry in the room. You need to go to bed. We got work in the morning." And I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I got caught because I stole the Hershey's or the gummy bar, and then I was on this side of the crib, and my sister was on the other side, my older sister. And when I came home, I remember stealing it, put it in my jacket. I came home and I ate it. So bed, room, and then dresser, and then closet. And so I ran from inside to the side of the dresser. I crunched down and ate that bitch. And then she said dinner's ready. Instead of getting rid of the evidence, I just left it there. I wasn't thinking. I'm a child. I'm not fucking a thief. I'm not a con artist. And so I remember my mom eventually coming in, tucking us in, and then she looked around the room, cleaning up. He goes, "What is this?" You know, and she takes it, goes in the room, talks to my dad. I'm a junior, so his name's Quentin. And he comes back to me, you know, and then she just like, you know, "I thought you were, I told you to stop stealing everything, blah, 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 blah." And, you know, I think that was the first time I ever felt really upset. I was upset. I think that's the first time I ever felt ashamed because I was so in love with my mother, so infatuated. She was my role model. She was my woman. She was everything to me that I was so upset that I made her upset. I don't think she was crying, but I could see the disappointment. I can acknowledge that there's something that I did that did not make her feel okay, and that didn't make me feel okay because I knew that I needed to make her feel okay. And it wasn't because my father was hitting on her, but because I knew that feeling or the way she reacted wasn't a reaction that I wanted. Now I'm older, I know it was a bad reaction because it's shame and it's upsetness and it's guilt because she doesn't want to raise a thief, a young black man, biracial man in a society that's already besmirching black people. I was born in 1998 now, remember, so the tension's still high. So I remember going to church and praying to God, like, you know, "God, please stop helping me steal. And God, you know, please, like, you know, make my mommy forgive me," and all that, because I knew that, like, it was wrong, you know? And I remember, like I said, laying there and the TV and all that, and I was just like, is everything? And I just kind of like went to sleep and I woke up, and that's the most earliest thought I can ever really remember. And it wasn't really traumatizing, it just really stuck with me. Coming into elementary school, I was homeless, so my mom was really bad on drugs. My dad, long story short, he'd beat on her and broke her back. And so at the time, she had like 2 or 3 degrees. One in, she was a architect, and she had a couple degrees. And so she worked for a company called Barge, Wagner, Summer, and Cannon in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. And so she had all this, you know, good health care and all that. Back in the day, she was making $20 an hour, which was good. Now I'm making 20, ain't shit. I'm making more than that, and ain't shit. They put her on pills. Like during the Ronald Reagan, George Bush era, you know, there's this new groundbreaking science, the pills, you know. And so they were giving her oxys, perks, Xans, all that because it was supposed to help. And, you know, it honestly made her fucking plummet, as we know now. It's caused drug addiction amongst the hundreds of millions in America. And so we were homeless. We were homeless for a long time. She ended up meeting this guy, Andrew, and he put me on anime, the Dragon Ball, the Modern Warfare, because my mom sheltered us and because she was a drug addict. You know, there was never really any outside world, you know. So it got real bad to where eventually my older sister would go see my aunt, and she told her everything that was going on. I had scabies from sleeping in the bed with a hooker. We hadn't had real food. We would put microwaved potatoes and water in a Walmart bag and microwave it, and then we'd eat that for months on end. We had talking about kind of makes me emotional. I had a friend, really cool guy. He passed away from drug abuse. His name was Michael Hubbard, and he was the second gay person I ever met in my life. And he was bougie rich, and he was actually buying drugs for my mom. And he saw how we were living at the time, and so he took care of us. He made sure that anytime we needed to talk, he was there for us. I remember there'd be times he'd bring us pizza. Anytime he come over and bought drugs for my mom, he would bring us pizza, and we would eat that pizza for as long as we could survive off of it. And he passed away back in 2010s from fucking drugs, and that still tears me up to this day, because he was the first person I ever met in my life that was a really good man. He was a very innocent man. He was just a good human, and it sucks that he died from a drug addiction, because I would love for him to meet my daughter today, and love him and hug him and tell him that like he's loved, and that we could work through whatever he was going through at the time. And the first person I really ever had on my side was my cousin Jordan. During the time I ended up moving in with my aunt, she ended up taking us in. And I was still Christian at the time. She ended up taking us in was because of my mom going into rehab for the time that she did. My cousin Jordan was a big role model for me. She was the first ever woman I really looked up to and was inspired by, and she was gay. And I remember growing up hearing so much racist rhetoric from my sides of the family, my mom's side, because they're in the KKK. Allegedly, I don't say allegedly. There was KKK affiliation, and they would shit on my mom for having me. They would call her a nigger lover, tar baby, moon cricket, and my cousins would talk about it. We would talk about it, and it was so fucked up. Even whenever my grandfather passed away, he gave his second ring to one of my cousins, which does not bother me. I love him to death, and he's a good man, and he deserves everything he's getting. But it just showed the amount of distance my grandfather wanted to create it from my mother, because she gave birth to a child, which was me. My first sister, she's older than me. She's my half sister. She's fully Caucasian, and so I remember them calling her the black sheep, and her aunt, or my aunt, her mother would tell her that she loved her, loved the sinner, not the sin. And I would see how my aunt would treat me because of my color. My aunt's husband, my uncle at the time through marriage, he was the first man I ever met in my life that was a leader to me, and he taught the Bible to me as best as he could. I remember there being very vivid times he would tell me that, the man he used to be would never marry my aunt because of who she is, but because he's such a good man, he's so in touch with Christ that he can continue to serve him and her. And my uncle at the time was an amazing man. He took care of me, my sister, my mom when she got out of rehab, my aunt, his wife, and him, and my cousin, my aunt's son. He took care of 6 people at the time. And my aunt would never work. She still doesn't. I think she works now because they're divorced, but she never would work. She would never work. She worked for a while and stopped, and then all she did was paint. And it's so weird because she and him took me in, but he was the one that raised me. He taught me a lot of patience. He taught me a lot of kindness. He taught me about the word and what it meant, and how powerful that Jesus really is, and what he really can do in your life and everything. And that meant a lot for me because I didn't care about the sin. I just wanted to be saved. I was going through agony. I was going through pain. I was homeless for my whole middle school year. I had scabies from a hooker. I was eating potatoes. I had one of my friends die. I never really had friends. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have social media. I only had my sisters and Family Guy when it came on TBS. Or American Dad. And me and my 2 little sisters didn't get along that well because it was just turmoil. Their hair was netted, my hair was natted, and it was just like children who were starving and fucking hungry, and my mom was a drug addict. I started going to high school. I went to Ridgeland High School, and I think this is kind of where I started really getting deep into the Word of Christ. My mom finally got out of rehab, and we started living back with her. My sophomore year. I'll say my sophomore and junior year. And at the time, she got out of rehab, so we left my aunt's house. And there was a lot of tension between me and my mom because the word was telling me to forgive her because it says obey your mother and father, but at the same time, I was always praying to God, was like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this anguish? Like, help take this pain away from me. Like, I don't know what to do or how to deal with it. Like, it's natural. Like, I don't know how to tell people. If you know, but whenever something's natural, it's natural. You don't force pain. You don't make it up. Like, you just look at somebody and you get a visceral reaction. It could be happy, sad, horny. It could be funny. Like, every time I looked at my mom, it was just anger. It was just anger. It was turmoil. It was resentment. It was unanswered questions, and I felt that I'm not serving her any, like, because when they told me she got out of rehab, two things had happened. One, she was at a very unstable state, and so we needed, like, my aunt would lie to us and be like, you need to make sure you're there for your mom and be there for her, and rehab told her that she can't do this for y'all, she has to do this for herself. And it really upset me because like, trying to stay alive and live through it, like, I was doing that for my mom, and I was doing that for me at the time. Well, not really me, but my mom was like, I want to see my mama again, I want to see my mama again. And so she started getting back on drugs my sophomore, junior year, I want to say. And so I got my first job, and it was at Food City. That's where I met my wife. And that's where I ended up meeting a friend of mine named Garrett. And Garrett, he really saved my life. I remember I was 16 at the time, and he drove a Hyundai Sonata, and I was behind his dad's Ford pickup truck, and he, asked me to give my life to Christ, and I told him I would. And I started going to a church called Parkway Baptist. So after that, we were in church for a while. I ended up getting baptized, and I was really into the Word coming into my junior year. I started really having to glow up. I started having a healthier mentality outside of my home. I really didn't talk to my mom a lot. I got my first girlfriend. I got my first kiss. And we ended up actually breaking up because of racial issues. Her father told her that she's not allowed to date people of color, and that it's against the Bible, and that he doesn't believe in it. And so I'm talking to my friend Garrett about it. I'm talking to my friend Devin about it, who's mixed, and I'm like, hey man, like, what is up with where does the Bible, does it say that people can't, like, date outside their race? And I talked to a couple other people in the church, and a couple people, I came to the conclusion that they're making the comments of, like, people are like you can't date outside your race because you'll be unevenly yoked. And at the time, I was like, unevenly yoked? Like, what are you talking about? How are me and this girl unevenly yoked? Like, we both like each other. We both kissed, and I'm 16, 17, no, I'm 17, yeah, 16, 17 at the time. I'm like, I like her, she likes me. And people are like, you're unevenly yoked. And now looking back on it, we all know that unevenly yoked meant people who were not religious and religious dating. But yet somehow Christian Baptist people in this area found a way to make it about race. So I apologize for the cut. I had to get my daughter. So basically, in conclusion for that, we ended up not working out. And I think it was the first glimpse into what would start a chain reaction of deconstructing. And for anyone who doesn't know, deconstruction is basically the just questioning or leaving a belief. And this for me is Baptist Christianity. And so I kept going to church, kept serving the Lord, and I started noticing a little bit of tension in the church, centering me, because I would always ask questions to the college and youth group when I was in high school, because there's, like, I think there's kids, daycare, and then, like, high school, and then college and career, that's what it's called. And then it was communion, which is the open one. So I always had a guy named Kyle Heath Taylor, amazing man, that's why I'm name dropping him. He would always answer them as best as he can, him and his wife, and he always respected me and my friend Devin because we were going to the military at the time. And he was into fitness, and I remember asking him, questions like, is working out wrong because it's vain, like I'm doing it for vanity, you know. And he was like, you know, God gave us these bodies to build them and craft them. And I was like, I get that, but like, you know, I know I'm doing it for vanity. I know I look good. I know I feel like I look sexy. I know I'm wanting to look lustful of women, and I feel like I'm creating a temptation or a sin. I'm procuring this sin, you know. And not that I couldn't lift and look absolutely sexy, greet God, but the ability and the way that I'm displaying it, I was like, you know, how am I glorifying God, you know? And he was just like, you know, temptation will happen no matter what, and just a bunch of other not like hoopla, but like just things to like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, but keep doing what you're doing. And so I continue to go to church, like I said, because there's many things I like to point out, and I'm sorry that it's scatterbrained. But there were two things that kind of basically led to me ending my journey with this church and then deconstructing. Was eventually the first one was homosexuality. So my older sister is gay, bisexual. My younger sisters are bisexual. My rest in peace, Michael. He was gay, and my cousin Jordan was gay. And for me, the gay community meant a lot to me because they experienced what I experienced as a black man in a white America. And I find it very hard as a biracial man with loving younger sisters and older sisters and people who fed me and kept me from starving to be on this spectrum that's considered sin. And so I remember asking the pastor and a couple people, my friends, and I was like, you know, why is homosexuality sin? Like, I don't understand. And they would come up with things like, oh, because you can't procreate, or God gives us free will and we do what we want with it. And, you know, I would ponder on that shit for fucking months, dude. I'd be like, I don't get it. Like, God's all powerful. He can do anything, and yet he creates gay people. And the Bible doesn't say not to fly, so he doesn't give us wings. God's all powerful, so why doesn't he just not make being gay a sin, or don't make homosexuality exist? And I still believe that to this day. I'm 25. Like, if I'm the most omnipotent being to ever exist, and I let gay people live, just don't make being gay a sin. It's that simple. Or things like how we're made in the image of God. So is God gay? Or like Adam and Eve, right? They came from God, yet they have belly buttons. If you look at all descriptions of Adam and Eve, they have belly buttons. And scientifically, as humans, knowing my daughter, I watched her get birth. She has an umbilical cord. That means that she came from another person. So how can Adam and Eve have umbilical cords? It was things like that. You know, these aren't idioms. These are questions that I really had to ask. You know, and no one, they would give me answers, but they wouldn't suffice. I had this thirst that I needed quenched, and just their answers were just so like not malevolent, but just so ignorant. They were just, because they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't give a fuck about gay people. They don't give a fuck about black people. Like, half of them at the time just cared about going to heaven, and they were so scared of hell. And it made me really like question myself. And this is right around the time I was 18. 18, 19, I started getting a girlfriend who's now my wife, my second girlfriend ever, and I brought her to church. And we would read the Bible every night, we would pray every night, and we didn't have sex till like 2 years into our relationship. 2-ish years into our relationship, I lost my virginity to her. She's the only woman still to this day I've ever slept with. Hey, prayers up, baby girl. But I love her. That's my girl, you know. And a lot of my loyalty came from the scripture, and to this day, without the scripture, I still have it because I love her. And one day, we were in church together. This is the second to last thing I want to bring up. It was me, my wife, my friend Devin, and his wife, who was his girlfriend at the time. We all four worked at Food City together. And I remember, I laugh thinking about it because I say it to my wife to piss her off. But I remember one time, we were sitting in church and the pastor goes, he says two things. One, he goes, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Which was fucking crazy to hear a pastor say in church. Because why the fuck is this dude in communion making jokes like that? Extremely inappropriate. Extremely. That has got to be the most double down fuck you moment I've ever heard from a coach, from a pastor. It just blew my mind that he felt comfortable saying that in the community and ecosystem he created, but doubling down and feeling so confident to make jokes about it. That really upset me because I was like, what if someone was in the peers who was struggling with homosexuality or suicide ideation because of homosexuality, and then you crack that fucking joke and that was it. That sent them over the edge, right? Where's the compassion? Jesus was with the fucking people with syphilis, the blind, and the thieves. He wasn't with fucking Gucci Mane and Paris Hilton. And so he goes, in the second part, Adam and Eve, Adam and Steve, the second part he says that pissed off my wife was, wives, be subservient to your husband as the husband is subservient to Jesus, who is of the church. And as long as you serve your man will no longer fail you or do you wrong because he's serving God, who is as serving the church. And basically he was, and that was the scripture, and I can quote it, or and I intend on putting a lot of pictures in here and everything, hopefully to keep the brain rot kids' attention and or to kind of be more illustrative and descriptive with the scripture and everything that I'm saying. I'm quoting for context the Bible, Christianity, baptism, KJV, King James Version. And so it really struck my wife with a nerve because she was just like, well, me and my boyfriend or husband at the time, this is speaking from her perspective, what she told me, she was like, we waited 2 years before we had sex, and you treat me with the love of your life, and we always go out, and I always pay for your food, and we always eat Taco Bell, and I come to your track practice, you come to my FFA, like why do I feel that what we have isn't what the Lord wants because you treat me as equal? And it made me be like, fuck, like, I don't think I can live in a world, babe, where you need to serve me. Because I'm already not only one lucky to have you, but I can't believe that I have you. And to feel that I can't be grateful and gratuitous and even scared to lose you, that it just seemed like the narrative was that what we have is correct, but the way we go about it is wrong. The dynamic. She would make choices, I make choices. She would do something, I do something. She made more money, I made more money, whatever. It just felt like the scripture at that time was telling her, and was telling my friend that like, and the narrative that men took from it was that like women are below men. And I don't believe that. I believe the only time someone's below me is when they fall, and that's for me to pick them back up. And I feel that I would never marry a woman who I thought was below me. Because doesn't that speak volume for how I see myself with someone and women in general? Ideally, if I'm going to be a straight man. I just can't see myself leading my wife any further than one, she'd want me to, and two, more than what I could lead myself. I don't think I could lead a woman when I'm questioning the rule in itself that's telling me to do it. It's like a math teacher tells me to use the calculator, and my wife has to trust the inputs that I put in, or what she tells me is the questions, yet I don't even trust the calculator's correct formula. Kind of a shitty analogy, but you get the point. And from then on, I started questioning everything. Everything. I stopped tithing. I stopped going to Sundays and Wednesdays church. I'd go maybe on Sunday once a month. We would struggle with sex because we were having sex out of marriage, and we were having sex at 17 and 18. And she was my only body, and she's only been my only body. And I would feel guilty about having sex. She would feel guilty about having sex, but it didn't feel wrong. It felt right, and it felt good with her, and I felt safe with her, and I felt more and more deep in love with her. So why did I feel like we were going to hell? And I was like, well, I date to marry. And so like, we would talk and I'd be like, I'm not married to you now, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be married to you in a couple years. She's like, I feel the same way. She goes, I don't see anyone else but you, and I don't want anyone else but you, and I don't see the issue. And I was like, well, yeah, like, I mean, to go a step further, talking to me and my girlfriend at the time, and my wife, we were talking about the situation with sex, there are people who are married and have sex, and yet there's infidelity. So shouldn't marriage be of the heart and mind and soul and body before it's of a legal governmental status? Because I could never be married to you, girlfriend, at the time, but I could still love you more than the next man would love his wife who he's married to. And we're not married. And I was like, does that mean to tell me that marriage is of the mind, the heart, the soul, and the body, and not what the government says? And it got me thinking, like, even marriage in itself, like, the Bible really never talks about marriage. It never talks about a man getting a woman a diamond ring from Kay Jeweler. And I never really looked into the whole marriage thing. I just knew that, like, I married my wife, and still to this day I don't believe in marriage. I think it's bullshit. But I married my wife because I love her, and I love that she wants that for us. And I feel that even if I didn't believe in marriage, I would still get that with her, because that's the highest form of love you can put on a taxable legal system in the USA. I've even thought about changing my name and some other stuff, but that's another story. And so the straw that finally broke the camel's back that made me leave the church, it was going to thrust us into the pivotal point of why I left Christianity. And if you're still with me, thank you. I just have to give you guys context and story time about who I am and where I come from. And maybe one day I'll do like my story time. But I don't want to give you a half-in story. I want to give you who I am, what I am, and what I'm feeling at this moment about it, and why I'm so convicted to tell you my story on why I left religion. So the straw that broke the camel's back was one day we were coming into church, and I was really just super skeptical. And I was like, I gotta get myself back in the church. I'm gonna force myself back in the church. Everyone's come back. And I started going by myself for a little while. And then my girlfriend, yeah. Every time I went to fucking church, bro. Every time I went to church, tithe. You should tithe. You should tithe. You should tithe here. You should tithe. You should tithe. You should tithe. And people would come in. Singers would come in. Hey, we're gonna tithe for the church. And then we're going to also do another tithe for the people coming in, the evangelicals. And so I was like, so you want me to tithe for the church? And then you want me to come in and reach out of my pocket and tithe even more for the people who are here singing? Because apparently they're evangelical tourists who tour other churches once a year, or a couple of years, or a couple times a year, and get money from those churches while they're on the road to sing and praise. And I was like, now remember, I'm a homeless person. I was a homeless person. I was so fucking frugal with money, dude. Except when I was Taco Bell. The XXL Grilled Stuffed Burrito, it could follow me. I'd go crazy on that motherfucker. Sucks that they took it off the menu. I used to be my shit for track. After a track, I'd eat 2 of those with my wife. So, it just felt so personal that I felt God was like understanding of my situation and that I shouldn't have to. And it just felt so, it always made me feel so eerie seeing the little bowl get passed down and I don't put nothing in it. And I would feel so bad. And I felt like it was a fucking manipulation tactic. Like you just dread it. You're just in church and we're going to start tithing now and just look on both sides at the end of the pier and you see the guy standing there and they just pass it down. And you're just anticipating and sweating. Like, oh, fuck. I'm not going to put nothing in there. Fuck, I'm so sorry, God. I'm so sorry. Oh, fuck, I feel like a piece of shit. I have nothing to offer. And then, God, still thinking about that shit, bro. That shit was so lame. And then it got to the point where I just put an envelope in there to where I didn't, because as people were looking at me, people watch me, I felt like, oh, they're going to judge me because I'm not. So I just put that in there and have nothing. And I just did it just to show. And I remember one of the sermons that really pissed me off, that made me kind of start going at the church, was he talked about if you have nothing, you can still tithe something because there was a woman who tithed a shekel, and in biblical terms, a shekel was less than a penny. So apparently, the story goes in the Bible, God or somebody was wanting some shit, and it was sacrifice, it was ritual, or something like that. And like people like Mensa Musa and like the Genghis Khans and the Qin and the Zhao dynasty motherfuckers would come in and just give all the money, billions of dollars, bam, Bugattis, bam, motherfucking GTA 6, bam, motherfucking Taco Bells, bam. And God was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want you to give me what you have. And apparently God, this chick came in and gave God, this old lady came in and gave him a shekel. And God was so bestowed and bestoken because that was not only more than what she had, that was everything she had or something. And he was just so happy that this woman gave, even though it was her shekel in value, it meant more to her survival than it did these guys with the billions of dollars that they had. I don't remember what happens at the end of the story, but I'm assuming he praises her and she went to heaven. And it was a guilt trip. It was a gaslight, manipulative guilt trip. This motherfucker was basically using that story to be like, look, you know, people in the peers, specifically you, Quinn, that's what it felt like. He was just like, I know that you're starving. I know that you're homeless. I know that you were molested as a child. I know that you struggle to pay the bills. I know that you live off I know you sleep on the bed in your aunt's house on the floor that has bed bugs. I know you wear the same clothes once a week. You can still give me $10 though from your Food City paycheck. And it just pissed me the fuck off. It pissed me the fuck off so bad because I was like, you piece of shit. You're driving a 2019 Cadillac. The fucking choir guy's driving a fucking F250 with fucking Dynaco rims. And you're gonna try to hound an 18-year-old fucking poor kid for $10? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. And so, I shot back at the church. I said, how much does Parkway make? Parkway Baptist. How much do they make? I asked time and time again. No one would answer me. How much do they make? How much do they make a year? What's their income? What's their net worth? I'm curious. What do these motherfuckers make? Gary wouldn't tell me. College and youth wouldn't tell me, except for one man. One man, Matthew Hulsey told me. I'm only name dropping him because he's a good man. He's still a good man to this day. He's one of those Christians that I feel that if God was real, he's the best definitive Christian. He even tried taking me in when I was homeless. He goes, well, you can go to their meetings. They have them like 2 times a year. And they talk. I was like, what do you mean they talk? He's like, well, the pastor talks to the people of the church. Like, apparently a congregation. Like, apparently there's a bunch of rich fucking dudes who, like, pay for the church. And I was like, wait a minute. There's a congregation. Like, what do you mean? He's like, they talk about the finances for the year. I was like, what? Why? And I go to that bitch. And I found out these motherfuckers, this is 2017, 2018, are making 1.5 to 2 mil in rinky-dink Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. They're making like $1 mil plus. I said, what? They're gaslighting me for $10 when they're making 1 to 2 mil. And then I see the pastor pull up, or the pastor's musician pull up in a new fucking Cadillac. I said, nah, fuck that. Beep. I left the church. I said, I'm done. I'm not going to church no more. I said, I'm done. Blowing my phone up. Where you at? Why you not coming? Blah, 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 blah. Why you not this? Why you not that? I said, I'm not giving up on God. I'm giving up on the church. And so then I went to another church called Peabody. And I had to start all over. I had to build a new community. And I just said, I don't like the Pastor David. He jokes about homosexuals. He's a shiesty guy. He's done people dirty. And I shit you not, eventually everyone from Parkway came to Peabody. Fucking everyone. Because I knew I was ahead of the game. I knew I was right. The way he acted, the way he always consistently tied, the way he taught homophobia. I still have a screenshot on my phone from him saying, and I'll post it, the craziest shit. This is a pastor now saying the craziest shit on his social media. Now, I'm not saying because you're a pastor you can't have feelings and emotion, but in my opinion, you should be conducting yourself like Jesus would. So, when I started deconstructing, now we're kind of where we're at now in the video. Why I love Christianity, why we started deconstructing. When I started talking to my girlfriend, I was getting racial remarks from both of her sides of the family. I remember seeing the messages, and it hurt me a lot because these people wanted me to come to the church. I've been to the church, I've been to Shiloh, I've been to Parkview, whatever, and they thought so much little of me. Oh, he's black, you know how friends are, or like making comments about me getting out of the military, that I was a failure, or making comments of my color. Her grandfather telling her he's disappointed in her because she married a black man. And these are people who are supposed to be supporting and following the same God that I follow. Remember that. So it got to the point to where I no longer believed in religion, but I believed in God. And I still consider myself Christian. So this is around 2019, 2020. And then all the George Floyd shit has started happening. And he got killed, and then everyone's going crazy. And then Black Lives Matter. I gave a speech on Walnut Street Bridge in chat, and it was on the news. It was like all over the news. It was blasted all over the news. I worked at Walmart at the time. I was getting love from so many people, then hate from so many people because I was claiming a Christian, and people saying God wouldn't be for Black Lives Matter, and they're a fucking terrorist group. And it just like tore me down. And then I remember hearing Lecrae talk about it. It just tore me down because I was just like, God, like, why did I feel so inspired to speak to them and feel like you were speaking through me for them? Wasn't this what Martin Luther King want? Wasn't this what you would want? Why am I getting crucified? Why am I getting dismantled, besmirched, fucking spit on, cussed at? I lost friends over it. People were trying to find out where the fuck I lived at the time. Because I simply went to Walnut Street Bridge and gave a speech about, like, literally the speech was like this, like, zebras don't kill zebras because of their color. Lions don't kill lions because of their color, but yet we as humans do. We consider ourselves the superior race over everything else, yet we kill ourselves over other colors. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? We're supposed to be made in the image of God, yet we go amongst others and kill because of color. Discriminate because of color, because of sexual preference. Nowhere else in the animal kingdom do you see another animal kill it simply because of its color. Solely because it's necessity, survival, or for defense. And people just shat all over me over that, dude. I mean, like, the group of people, like, blowing it up and everything, but, like, the outside, the people, Parkway were shitting on me, right? Pivot people were talking shit about me and all that. And then I was shut out from all that. I said I would no longer participate with anyone who's Republican or Democratic. I would no longer participate. Even at the time, Garrett, who saved me, kind of was, like, on the burner about it. And I was crying, I was so upset for a while, and for a couple of years that hurt me. And I got into lifting and all that, and come around 2021, 2022, I started seeing, like, a lot of people be just distasteful about LGBTQ. Pride Month came around. And I just got so fucking fed up with seeing people try to claim the same God that I do and say those things, conduct themselves in that way. Trump got in office, they were saying crazy shit, doing crazy shit. I was just so fucking over it. I was so over being ashamed to be a Christian. I was so upset over the shit Trump was saying. People shitting on Black Lives Matter. People shitting on gay people. And it always came down to being fucking Christians. It was always Christians. It was always fucking Christians starting shit, hurting shit, saying shit, trying to kill shit, trying to besmirch shit. Fucking the takeover at fucking the White House. Or the fucking whatever the fuck it was. The insurrection. They talk about on January 6th. To me, in all my eyes, all that shit stemmed from conservative, right-winged Christian Baptist men, white men, women that killed them all. And so I said, fuck it, I'm done with religion. I said, I'm done. 2022, I'm done. I couldn't deal with it no more. I couldn't deal with the hurt. I couldn't deal with the shame. I couldn't deal with the suicide ideation of my worth, my value, if I'm going to see God, if I'm not going to see God, if I'm worthy. I'm tired of feeling bad because I love someone because they're gay. Or I feel ashamed of my color because I'm fucking black. God made me this way, if anything. God made the gay man the gay man. God made the fucking rapist the rapist. God made the Klansman the Klansman. God made the fucking queer the queer. God made the motherfucking nerd the nerd. God made the fucking musician. Hans Zimmerman's Hans Zimmer because of God. Why the fuck am I being crucified and fucking dismantled and fucking besmirched and fucking spit on, like I said previously, because of my color, because of my beliefs? I'm not believing in anything besides wanting people to be happy, and yet in the Bible, what these people are telling me is that I'm wrong. But yet I feel like God would have done that. So who's right? Who's right? Me for loving the neighbor like it teaches me, or them for it? And I said, fuck it. I rewrapped my mentality and I deconstructed. I said 3 things to myself. If God's real, he'll show himself to me. 2, if God's real, I don't want to believe in him simply because of what the book says from 100 fucking men who are homophobic time and time again. We have a hard time believing that a man can be gay. Yeah, we read a fucking book about niggas walking on water. That shit's like Naruto. Naruto walked on water. Jesus walked on water. Orochimaru was a serpent. Satan was a serpent. Come on, dude. The curse mark? Sodom and Gomorrah? Come on, dude. Fuck. It was just too much. And then like Hobson dropped Illmind 7 and it just reinvigorated me and rejuvenated me to feel confident in what I was feeling and that I'm valid. And so a little time skip today to end this for you guys. I'll probably do a couple of these every other year or something to see where I'm at in my time frame. But I'm 25 now. Where am I at now with Christianity? I'm done with it. I'm over it. I'm happy it's gone. I no longer want to participate with it. If someone needs Christianity, that's okay. I don't think any lesser of them. I sympathize and I kind of a little bit feel empathy because I feel that they are set in this brick and mortar mentality and there's no wrap around it. Unless you read the Bible, someone's going to interpret it for you. And people say all the time, that's why the printing press was the most dangerous thing that ever happened to the Bible, because when they started printing more Bibles, then people could read it for themselves and teach themselves and understand it themselves. And where I'm at now with it is I just can't believe in a God who's all powerful and he lets homosexuality be a sin, more made in his image. I can't believe in a God who's all powerful and yet he lets kids go starve in Haiti, or let women get raped, or let kids get COVID and die, or let Trump become president. I can't believe in a God who would let people praise him and then let them die. I just feel that if I was God, I would want so much more for society. I want so much more for people. And people go, well, it's free will. It's free will. I don't think people understand what free will is. Free will means that you can do whatever you want and there's consequences. But the consequences are because of the actions, not because you don't do what you're told. If I tell you you have free will, you can do whatever you want. But if you don't do what I say, you're going to hell. That's not free will. That's manipulation. That's forcing of hand. God says he loves me, but yet he let me starve. He let me get molested. He let me deal with suicide ideation. He let me watch my mom get the shit beat out of her. He watched my mom get sexually assaulted. He watched my grandmother and my grandfather and my wife's grandparents call me nigger and all these racial slurs. He watched me deal with like I said, homelessness, deal with fucking ADHD, deal with suicide ideation. He let me deal with being bullied, me being castrated, me being fucking chased. He let me deal with all these things to glorify him when I'm still doing it even though I've been through all those trials. You don't have to make me suffer to understand that I love you, that I need you, If I don't suffer, I can love you and need you more. I'm not going to come home, beat my wife's ass, and then tell her that she needs to love me and that if she does, then I can love her more. Every day when I wake up and I'm hurting or I'm tired or I'm sick or I want to quit, I look at my wife and I give her a kiss on the head and I go to work. I look at my daughter and I give her a kiss on the cheek and I go to work. Because those things that are motivating me, I'm a man, a father, and a husband. Those are three things that I am. And that because of those things, I can continue on in my life. And you mean to tell me that there's a being that's superior than that far exudes that by eons, and yet he does not share my like-mindedness, but I'm made in his image? How am I made in the same image as him when the Klanman's made in the same image as him, and yet we both battle with me existing? How is it that in the 1967, 1963, 1970s, biracial marriage had to be legalized? Legalized, everyone. That means that you cannot be biracial, have biracial kids, or marry biracial. You would all go to jail or the kids would get killed. In the 1960s and 1970s. And that is literally what, 50 years ago? 50 fucking years ago? And I'm 25? It doesn't make sense, man. None of it makes sense. And I just can't subscribe to it. I can't subscribe to it. We live in such a modern day with so much technology. You can Google anything. You can ask any question. Reddit, Quora, fucking Facebook. You can go anywhere and you can talk to somebody. I feel the reason why people are still religious is because of two things. They're lucky enough to be so ignorant and so stupid they don't gravitationally understand and grasp what the Bible is teaching them, which is hate. Or two, they live such a nice privileged life that they've never understood turmoil enough to question it. To question it. If God is all real and the Bible teaches me and is telling me what it says, then God unequivocally 100% is at fault for everything that I've went through, for everything that I've witnessed, and for everything that happened to Michael when he passed away, for everything that happened to everyone. It happened to my mother, what happened to my little sisters when we were all molested, why I starved, why the kid in Haitian has fucking worms, why my fucking first ever dog Whitney died from heartworms. He's 100% equivocally guilty of all of that. And you know why? Because it was in his name. Because it would bring him grace. And I just cannot believe in God in that. I won't believe in God in that. So that's why I've deconstructed. There's more to this. I can go on, but ideally it's on top of my head and it's emotional, and I wanted to get it off because I feel like this is the most raw as it gets and the most realistic it gets as someone who is a Christian looking in, trying to understand why people leave, and as someone who is going through what I'm going through that's love Christianity. At the end of the day, I'm not looking for approval, disapproval. I'm simply telling my story because I'm allowed to and I want to, and I want people to understand that you're not alone, and if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm always here. I may not have the answers, but I can always listen. And that's most of what people have given you and or me. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you could, like, share it to somebody, subscribe, comment below any questions you may have. Or if you want to get me back in religion, we can talk about that as well. Ideally, it's open discourse. I just want to be respectful. But yeah, that's my story, and that's why I love Christianity. So I want to be a good man for my father, or a good man for my daughter, and a good man for my wife. And I feel that being a Christian isn't one of them. So thank you for watching.